Hello and welcome to Bible Bites Daily. Today we have reached Deuteronomy chapter 16. This chapter unfolds the beauty of joyful celebrations and the significance of worshipping God with gratitude. Join me as we uncover the rich lessons within this chapter. From verses 1 to 8, this chapter talks about the feast of Passover. The chapter begins with instructions for the feast of Passover and unleavened bread. Lesson 1 teaches us about remembering God's deliverance. Just as the Israelites commemorated their liberation from Egypt, we are reminded to celebrate the redemptive work of God in our lives. The unleavened bread symbolizes the purity God desires in our worship. So whatever we do, however we want to worship Jesus, it has to be pure. So that is what we are talking about, the feast of Passover. From verses 9 to 12, it talks about the weeks of the feast, which we call Pentecost. Moving forward, we encounter the Feast of Weeks, also known as Pentecost. Lesson 2 emphasizes gratitude for the harvest. So whatever we have harvested, whatever we have sowed, we have harvested, and whatever we have harvested, we are offering the feast to the God, which signifies or which acknowledges God's provision in our life. So we are saying God that God, we have received this and we want to offer you this. It's an invitation to celebrate and express gratitude for the abundance of blessings He bestows upon us. So what is a harvest in today's time or in today's life? It doesn't have to be literally a farm, or it doesn't have to be literally a crop that you harvest. It is anything that you achieve in your life. It talks about any and everything that you achieve in your life. If God is there and God has offered you that in your lives, you have to show that gratitude in abundance of His blessings. From verses 13 to 17, it talks about the Feast of Booths, which we call Tabernacles. The chapter culminates with Feast of Booths, a time of dwelling in temporary shelters. So this is a ritual which we have seen in the past. Lesson 3 unfolds the importance of remembering dependence on God. How we have to depend and how far we have to depend. The temporary shelters symbolize the impermanence of life and our reliance on God's constant presence. It's a joyful acknowledgement of His faithfulness as our shelter and as our provider. So how do we apply these things in our day-to-day life? How do we celebrate God's faithfulness today? As we reflect on this chapter, the application is very clear. God invites us to celebrate His faithfulness in our lives, whether through commemorating deliverance, expressing gratitude for provision, or acknowledging our dependence on Him. I want to reaffirm these words again. So how do we celebrate His faithfulness? First one is through commemorating deliverance. Commemorating deliverance is to understand and acknowledge how we have been delivered from what we were going through, like the Israelites released from the Egypt. Expressing gratitude for provision. Expressing gratitude is being thankful for what we were given, or acknowledging our dependence on Him. Acknowledging is saying out loud or committing to the fact that we are dependent on Him. Without Him, we cannot do anything. So we have to acknowledge that, and by acknowledging that, we are celebrating God's faithfulness. So these are the important lessons. And before we conclude, Deuteronomy chapter 6 paints a beautiful picture of joyful celebrations woven into the fabric of worship. As we navigate life, may we embrace the call to celebrate God's deliverance, express gratitude for His provision, and acknowledge our constant dependence on Him. Let our lives be a testament to the joy found in worshipping the God who faithfully guides us. May we celebrate be marked by a heart overflowing with gratitude and joy. Thank you for joining us today. May God bless you all in abundance, and may all of us get a chance to show our dependence on Him.